Okay. Um, Great. Well, we'll go ahead and jump in. Um, this month we are talking about the Dolores River Canyons area. Um, this is an area, I don't know if folks are familiar with it, but it's an area that's on the western slope. Um, and here's just a little bit about it. It is Right now, it's the largest and most biodiverse but unprotected area that we have here in Colorado. We're looking at about 400,000 acres that are in Mesa and Montrose counties. And I should clarify that this area connects to another Dolores Canyon area to the south of it. And Senator Bennett and his office has been convening folks for, gosh, I think it's been years, to talk about the southern stretch and how they might protect certain parts of it. But they have not talked about this northern area. And this northern area is amazing and deserving of protection. People have been trying to protect it for literally decades, but have not been able to yet. There are a few areas that have essentially interim protection. They're what's called wilderness study areas. And these are areas, it's land that's being managed by the Bureau of Land Management. And the BLM, as they're known, has set aside a few of the acres within this 400,000 acres that we're talking about, and has called them wilderness study areas, which means they think that these areas have wilderness qualities. They could qualify for wilderness areas. They are managing them as wilderness areas until such time that Congress makes a decision. And so that's part of the 400,000 acres we're talking about, but the folks who have been out on the ground and know these areas best have developed a larger proposal because there are actually more like 400,000 acres that are deserving of protection. It's a high desert ecosystem and it's important wildlife habitat. There's several species that are sensitive species here in Colorado that are dependent on the habitat in this area. It's an important corridor for wildlife movement and important wintering habitat for other species, elk and deer among them. There's a lot of cultural significance in this area. It's historically been an area where the Ute lived, and there are remnants of the time when they lived and moved through this area. There's evidence of peoples who have lived here for, I'm not even sure how long, a lot longer than most of us have been around. There's petroglyphs. There's also remnants of mining history, some historical significance. Some of you may have heard of the hanging flume, how they moved water around during mining times. So there's a lot of different cultures and history that is represented in this area. There's also a lot of outdoor recreational opportunities, a lot of boating on the river. There's hiking and camping, fishing, and a lot of people count on this area for their outdoor recreation on the West Slope. There's also a lot of folks who enjoy off-road vehicle and use in this area, and that often is damaging to sensitive habitats like this area. And so part of what would be done in this proposal to protect the area would be a plan to manage the recreation. If there's just, you know, gazillions of people out there loving this area to death, going wherever they want, it could damage the area and the habitat values. And so part of the plan would be creating a recreation plan to guide people to where they can recreate in different forms, whether that's off-road vehicle use or camping or boating, and have a guide for it so it lessens the impact on the area. This is a picture of the area just to give you an idea. It's the Dolores River going through there. It's a series of canyons. The Dolores River Canyon's the primary one, but there's a series of them that come off of the main one running through this area. And here are some of the threats that I started to get into that are driving this need to protect the region. Mining is part of the history. There are still some mining claims in the area, and existing valid mining claims would be honored. Those would be worked into a plan for a national monument in this area. But there's been some renewed interest in large-scale mining that would be detrimental to the area. And so we want to try and get out in front of large-scale mining that would have a big impact. Unplanned recreation that I just was talking about a little bit. Climate change, certainly this area has suffered a great deal of drought that's likely only to get worse. And developmental pressure. There was a plan a few years ago by Excel, just as one example. They wanted to put in, I believe it was a hydropower dam. There was a great deal of local outcry at that idea, and so they walked that back. But it doesn't mean that they wouldn't come back, or that others might not have other developments that they want in this area. So in order to protect it, we are really needing to put something in place that preserves the area and its many of its existing uses. There's some grazing in the area. Those licenses would be maintained and protected as well. And so that would be part of the plan. I should probably explain a little bit better. The national monuments are the national monuments, the designation that we are looking for, us and a whole coalition of groups, to protect this area. Each national monument has its own management plan, and so that's why we can, you know, we can say, all right, the existing mining claims are going to be honored, the grazing licenses are going to be honored. Recreation can take place in this area in this way. You know, it's really tailored to the local area. Oh, and habitat fragmentation. When you have development, obviously that can fragment habitat, and that threatens the wildlife that lives in the area. And here's an example of some of the wildlife that lives in the area. Got some bighorn sheep down there, among many other species. And so here is the process that we've been working on. National Monument Proposal. As I mentioned, they each have their own management plan. A national monument can be designated either by the president under the Antiquities Act or legislatively. And so we've been in conversations with our U.S. Senators Bennett and Hickenlooper to introduce legislation. Those are ongoing conversations. They have both met with us and met with others about this idea and what might be in a proposal. They've both been to the region to get out on the ground and see it. They've both held public meetings in the area to hear what folks think. And there's a variety of opinions, of course, on the issue. I would say the meetings that I've attended and from polls that have been done statewide, there is a great deal more support for the idea of protecting this area for a national monument than there is to not protect it. The state of the state, I believe it's called, there's a poll that's done by Colorado College or State of the Rockies, I'm sorry, that's the poll they do each year. They asked in a recent poll what people thought of the idea of protecting this area as a national monument, and 92% of respondents said that they supported that idea. So it's got great public support. The counties, Mesa and Montrose, have not been as enthusiastic about the proposal that has been put forward, but they know that there's been a big cry to protect this area. They understand the threats to this area. And so they created an NCA proposal, which is a national conservation area. Not sure why they chose that instead of a national monument. An NCA can also have its own management plan. Their plan, however, was less than 30,000 acres. It was some 29,000 and change acres, leaving 92% of the eligible area unprotected. I don't think their proposal even included the entire WSAs, areas that have been determined to have wilderness qualities and have been protected in a temporary state for decades. And so we and many others consider that to be completely insufficient, and want to ensure that they and our senators know that that's not going to do it. That's not a sufficient proposal. So what we're working on is, and others again, are submitting some comments about the proposal that Mesa and Montrose County have put forward. They are, the counties are taking comments on their website, and they are going to be shared with our senators. And so one of the things that we're just trying to do is show them that support, that 92% of the folks in the state support a national conservation area, and we would like to show them that by helping get some comments into the counties, which will also be seen by senators. So I'm sure this is, can you guys click on that link and actually have it work?
Can you put it in the chat, Jen?
Yeah. And I can pull up the maps of the area that we're talking about, and the areas that, let's see if I can, let me stop sharing for 1 minute so I can pull those up. I should have included them in the proposal, but I did not. I apologize. Okay. Here is a map of the area that we're talking about and the areas that have been proposed for protection. And you'll see in this map, so that sort of dark gray. Let's see if I can share again. I can talk about this a little better. Okay. So this area is what we're talking about. You'll see over here on the left, this is the Utah border. And here's Mesa and Montrose counties. So this is the northern portion of it. You'll see Gateway over here to help you maybe figure out where we are. And going down, this is Montrose County. And here's the key. So you'll see this sort of crosshatch is the wilderness study areas. So this is one down here, but there are surrounding areas around it that are intact, sensitive, in need of protection. And then you'll see this is another wilderness study area here, and then there's a third up here. And then by protecting the river that connects them all, as well as the land around it, we can really create this sort of connectivity that wildlife needs. Because if you protect little islands of habitat, what happens is the wildlife gets stuck in those little islands. And then the species, if they leave, are often killed by crossing roads or, you know, whatever the threat is. Or the population interbreeds because they're not moving and exchanging individuals. And then that weakens the population as well, making them susceptible to other stressors, disease and such. So it's really important to have habitat connectivity. And this area does a fantastic job of creating that connectivity. And then here is the alternative that the counties put forward, their alternative proposal. And so that's the area within this border. So, you know, there's not connectivity, and you can see that they don't even include all of the wilderness study areas, which is surprising because those areas have, like I said, been protected for a long time in a temporary fashion. So you can see they've got the purple line here of the National Monument proposal, and then theirs is this much smaller little area inside it. And unfortunately, that's insufficient to get the job done. So in order to demonstrate the support for this larger proposal, we in this coalition of organizations that we're working with are really trying to drive some comments in to let folks know, actually, we'd like to see this larger national monument proposal. And that is this form. Was everybody able to see that and open it on their own computers? Yeah, okay, great. So I thought we could take a couple minutes just to go through this, and it would be really fantastic if everybody could submit a proposal, and that way we can, or sorry, not a proposal, a comment, so that we can get some comments in to these decision makers who are going to be deciding exactly what areas are going to get protected. They really need to hear from us. we need to demonstrate to them, yep, 92% of the folks in the state actually support this larger national monument. And here's how we demonstrate that to them. We send in some comments. So just go through this quickly. It's pretty straightforward. Name, email address. You can, if you want email updates from the counties, you can mark yes. We'll be sending out updates to our members, so you don't have to mark that if you don't want additional emails. Obviously, put the county that you are a resident of. And you know, one of the things that we really emphasize is these are federally owned public lands, which means all of us own these lands. You and I and people in Mississippi own these lands just as much as folks who live close by. And one of the things the counties try and insinuate is that because they live close, they get to determine what happens to these lands, but that's not the case. They're owned by all Americans, and we all have a say in how they're managed. Any interests you have, you can mark all of the above. Whatever interests you have in protecting this area, whether or not you use it. For a lot of us, you know, it's just knowing that opportunity's there, knowing that our kids can have a chance to go here and see bighorn sheep when they're grown up, is just a reason as somebody who's there on the river. The two maps are here that I just showed you. You can refer back to those if you want to check those out again. And then supporting the National Monument Map is the one that protects the entire area, the 400,000 acres that we're talking about. So marking that one lets them know that their proposal is insufficient. And then if there's any comments that you want to add here, you can do that. You don't have to. And then, of course, you submit that and it's all done. I know I just ran through a ton of information pretty quickly there. Does anybody have any questions? No questions on any of that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
The proposal from the counties, how is that being proposed? Are they trying to propose legislation through their congresswoman, or like, what does that look like? I'm just curious.
They've just put it out there essentially, sort of as the coalition has done with the other map, saying, here's what we think should be protected. It's sort of a discussion draft, if you will. I mean, you know, sometimes folks will just say no to things and try and just shut it down. They recognize that there's a lot of demand and need for protecting this area, so they are at least getting involved in the conversation, which is something. And so they put forward this proposal just to put it out there for discussion. But unfortunately, as I said, it's just completely inadequate to really protect this area. Okay. If there's no other questions, that's all I had on that proposal. Would really appreciate if folks can get some comments in, trying to get in as many as possible. You know, unfortunately, a lot of times these things come down to a numbers game. So it's going to be how many people do they have that say, oh, this NCA is sufficient, versus how many people are saying, actually, it's not sufficient. We need to propose a national monument and protect a greater area. So these comments make a difference in this decision.
Can you tell me is there a deadline for how long they're accepting comments?
There's not a hard and fast deadline, but the senators are, Senator Bennett in particular, are putting together their thoughts on the subject now, ongoing basis. And we don't know, are they going to come out with a proposal, or is Senator Bennett going to come out with a proposal sometime soon? Maybe. So we're trying to do it as soon as possible.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just wanted to know what the opportunity was to share this with other folks. If there
Oh,
was, the
yeah,
essence
thank
or
you.
it's
That would be fantastic. We would be grateful to share. If anybody you can share it with who could submit comments as well would be great. There's, like I said, there's no deadline, but I guess as soon as possible would be great because they're tracking it all the time. Okay, and I will go back to the last part here. And that's actually one of the things I had on here. Invite your friends to take action with you, or anyone you know that might be interested in it. There's an effort as well to reach out to businesses that would like to see the area protected as well and sign on their support. There's over 100 businesses, I believe, so far that have signed on to a support letter. If you have a business or know someone with a business who's interested in seeing this area supported, let me know and I can get them the language that we're asking folks to sign on to demonstrate that support. And writing a letter is always a great way, a letter to the editor is always a great way to show support publicly. If anybody's interested in doing that, let me know. I can help you with that. And it just is another piece of that public discussion to, to raise that, excuse me, raise the profile of the area and the need to protect it. And speaking to our senators directly, excuse me, reaching out to their office. We did an action alert a couple months ago. You guys may have already signed on, but if you didn't and would like to, let me know and we can easily add your name. And any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you guys for any comments you can generate either yourself or with your friends and colleagues. That honestly makes a big difference. And the last slide I have here, Sarah, do you want to go through it?
Sure. I think, well, I know we've reached out and you've seen emails, I'm sure, about these, but we have a house party tomorrow evening, actually, it's actually at 5:30, from 5:30.
Oh,
5:30 to
sorry.
7. That's okay. So, if you are interested and available, it's in Denver, in Congress Park. Jen is actually hosting at her home. So would love to see you there if you're available. On September 25th, we are doing our first grief circle with Lisa, who's on our call, who runs Women of the Water, and we're really excited about this this event. And so it's a virtual event where Lisa is going to guide us through a discussion about, how we're feeling about climate change and processing our feelings around the grief of, losing this planet that we love, and what that future might look like for us and for our kids. So a new and unique opportunity that we are just thrilled to be embarking on with Lisa. So if you are interested in that, there was an email sent out where you can register. Just this morning, I think, was the first email where we included that registration link. So you should have it in your inbox. We are also going to do a Public Lands Day celebration on September 28th from 12 to 3. This is still being determined. The location is still being figured out, but it will be kind of a fun celebratory day that will be family friendly, of course. So more information to come on that. And then lastly, we're going to be doing this lunch bunch every month, the second Wednesday of the month at 12 o'clock. We've expanded it to 45 minutes to give us a little bit more wiggle room for, discussion and all that. We were doing 30 minutes last year and it just felt really rushed. So we know that your time is precious and we want to only take what we need, but we did need to expand it a little bit. So lots going on in September, but all really fun, interesting things. So hope you can make some of that. Jen, did you want to add anything?
Nope, I think that's great.
All right. Well, is there anything else that we had for today? Don't think so.
I don't think so, unless there are any questions, comments.
If I could, I'd like to say something. This is Angelique.
Sure.
Hello, thank you for having me. It's been a little minute since I've joined you guys. Hello, Sarah. Thank
Hey,
you for
good to see
keeping
you.
me in the loop. I appreciate it. If maybe you've noticed in the chat, I've added some links that might seem like they're in left field, but I assure you they're not. In regards to, these issues that we face with our waters, this Produced Water Consortium is designed and legislatively appointed to align our regulatory agencies to sell back fracked water to communities. There are grants that are happening right now that are being applied for the infrastructure to allow this to happen, because currently they don't have the infrastructure for it. So now they're promoting it as that they care about the communities and they're bringing in this infrastructure and wanting to build out all this new stuff. But no one is talking about the fact that this regulatory agencies are being aligned to bring this water forward into our municipalities, into firefighting efforts, and also to sell us back, which has literally been said in this Produced Water Consortium and suggested. These meetings have been going on for a year and they're fast tracking this. I really, really ask please to pay attention to this, because these waters don't matter if we're going to pollute them with fracked water. This is something that we all need to be paying attention to, because if they're going to be using this fracked water in the ways that they're proposing to use them, none of this water matters, because it's all going to be contaminated. All of the runoff, all of what's in the air, there's so much that, there's a big conversation about this, but no one, I'm telling you, no one is showing up to these meetings. Thus far, I think one other person once and myself have been the only ones to bring public comment. I've been the only one to show up at these meetings consistently. So I'm asking if we're here to protect the waters, if we're here to talk about how and what we can do for the waters for our future generations, I'm asking us all to please give this some attention. There's another meeting coming on Friday, because these things can be written into these comments, acknowledging what they're doing, what they're intending on doing, because there's going to be a tremendous amount of transport happening with these waters that are toxic. So I'm just putting this on your radar. I'm asking you please to give it some attention, take a look at it, and see if there's anything that can be incorporated in these comments that we're doing for the Dolores waters, and acknowledging what they're intending to do and the danger and the implications that that might have if they continue to bring forward this produced water. So thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Thank you for the work. I am an avid water steward and I really appreciate because you can't be everywhere and in every conversation. And I absolutely have my plate full with some of these other issues that I've been giving my attention to. So thank you for holding space here. And yeah, thank you, Sarah and Jen, for holding the space for us to come into and creating these events for us to get to know each other and continue these conversations of how we can protect our waters. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Angelique. Appreciate that. Anything else? I want to respect everybody's time. We probably have about 30 seconds. Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for being here today and joining us. We're really grateful.
I'm sorry, if I could just say one more thing, the other link that I let in there was the Marcus Howell, who's the environmental ombudsman. He's our nation's only environmental ombudsman. And basically the way his thing works is the more complaints that he gets about a specific thing, the more he's able to address it. And what his job is to do is to call out the agencies that aren't meeting their required things. So if we see something that's out of line, he's the person that we can go to get attention, to get some words, to get some eyes looking at what's actually happening in those agencies. I'm sorry, I just totally cleared out your room. I have that effect sometimes.
No, I think folks are just, all of us crazy busy days, but thank you so
Yeah.
much for bringing this forward and for being here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for giving me the space and time to share that. Appreciate you.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
Thank
Angelique.
Absolutely. Have a good day. Bye.
you too. Bye.